New this morning, Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs wants the state attorney general to investigate whether allies of former President Trump violated state laws by conducting a pressure campaign against county officials in the wake of the 2020 election. This is happening as we learn that the Arizona Senate is planning to recount every single one of the nearly 2.1 million votes cast in Maricopa County, the most populous county in Arizona, in last fall's election. Let's talk about this now with the former Attorney General of Arizona, Grant Woods. He's also the former Chief of Staff to the late Senator John McCain. Grant, thanks for coming on this morning. First, I just want to get your reaction to this investigation that Secretary Hobbs is seeking into Trump and his allies.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, if I was Attorney General, I would investigate it. So, we'll see what happens here. I've been calling for the Justice Department to step in here for a long time. I think they need to step into this ridiculous fraud that's been going on for months and months and months. And now we see that, much like in Georgia, we had the president trying to call in and influence folks. We had Rudy Giuliani trying to influence elected officials here as to how they did their job. And we had the chairman of the Republican Party in Arizona. Now, her we have on tape, and she's saying, you need to stop the count. You need to stop counting votes right now. That needs to be investigated, and that could be a potential crime for sure.
Arizona's Senate is conducting its own recount of the total number of Maricopa County ballots cast in last fall's election. So this is something that just keeps happening and happening, even after this fraud that the Senate had already pushed. Do you worry about the security of future elections in Arizona?
Well, I worry here, like in other places around the country, when we have Republican legislatures trying to change the rules so that maybe they could have jurisdiction and they could step in and subvert the will of the people. That's the problem going forward. That's why the Congress needs to, and the Senate in particular, needs to pass serious voter protection here to overcome that, because clearly what's going on in Arizona shows that anything can happen. I mean, the chimp over at the Phoenix Zoo counts faster than these people. They've been going on for like 4 or 5 months. The ballots are 100% insecure. Apparently, they've traveled somehow to a cabin in Montana, and now they're going to come back and they're going to try to count them all again. Brianna, one of the reasons they're counting them again is because they have no idea how many they have, apparently. Now, when I was AG, I did get to supervise a recount once because the Secretary of State was involved in the election and he was on the ballot. And boy, you do these things in meticulous fashion. You follow all the rules. You make sure that every T is crossed and I is dotted. These people have no clue what they're doing. This is not serious. It's a political stunt, and we'll see the results of it. What they're going to say is, that there was some sort of miscount or whatever, and then Trump and the rest of them will run with that. And so it's part of the big lie. It just continues on.
Yeah, it is a zoo. It's a circus, right, as we're watching this. I want to talk to you about quite the interview that you had recently about your former boss and friend, the late John McCain, and how he felt about former President Trump. You said he called it as he saw it, and he thought Trump was an asshole, and he thought he was an idiot. What else did the late senator think privately? I think we sort of got an impression, right? It's not as if he completely kept those cards close to his vest. But tell us about what he thought about him.
Yeah. I don't know that it's really, I know you guys love breaking news, but I don't know if it's breaking news that John McCain thought Trump was an asshole, but he did. We all did. Okay. So there's that. But the interesting thing to me always was, like many, I would be outraged daily by Trump's antics and the things that he did as a candidate and then as president. And McCain was interesting. John kind of took it all in stride. He really spent very little time thinking about Trump, talking about Trump, or worrying about Trump. He John McCain was at a certain point in his life with what he had done with his military career, with his governmental career, and he looked at Trump as an aberration and someone who was not a serious person, someone who we had to deal with because ultimately he was elected. And I think when he started taking him more and more seriously is when he saw the demagoguery get out of control, when he saw the autocratic tendencies come to the surface. And of course, when we saw him early on knocking the POWs and challenging them, and then ultimately a great disrespect to the military. That cut to the heart of John McCain and his life. And I did mention there that I talked to John 3 times on the day that Trump said McCain's not a hero because he was shot down, and that POWs then weren't heroes. And I will tell you, it did not bother him in the least. He just like, okay, whatever, this guy. Until he started talking to and thinking about his fellow POWs. And when he thought about them, it's one thing for John McCain to be able to brush this aside. But these are people now who are, they were up in years, and you were going right at their identity. They were heroes. They are heroes. And they had never heard anyone anywhere say that they weren't heroes until this. And now all of a sudden, when you're 80 years old, you've got to defend your actions when you were serving your country. And in John's case, 5.5 years as a prisoner of war. It was a clue to the character of the man. But again, McCain, he shook it off. It didn't really bother him, except as to how it affected others.
It reflects how he served as well when he was a POW, relating to himself and relating to those around him as well. Grant, thank you so much for being with us.